fun. Hi y'all, welcome back to Mike Peace Woodturning. Today we're going to turn a fun little project that can either be a spin top or a festive Christmas tree ornament. Perfect for adding a little handmade magic to your Christmas tree. So let's take our blank, approximately 2 inches square, 1.5 to 2.5 inches, mark centers using a spring punch or an awl, and we're going to rough it round and put a tenon on it, and then we're going to put it in a chuck. So you can use most any dried wood, preferably a hardwood with an even grain, no knots, no less figure, something that'll be balanced when you turn it. This particular piece of wood is holly, but like I say, most any hardwood, could be cherry, could be maple. If you're going to decorate it, especially with color, you want a lighter color wood, so this holly would be great for that. So then we'll make a little tenon. So this is about 2 inches wide, or about 50 millimeter, and you want it at least that long. This one's closer to 3 inches. That's for turning an individual top. If you're getting into production mode, you might want to use a larger blank, and actually you could turn 2 tops, but in this particular one we're going to turn 1. Now you can use any number of tools to shape this, and I want to show you 2 different approaches for how you're going to mount it, whether you do it point forward. You could use a 3/8 inch spindle gouge, which is great. Some people like to get a little more aggressive, and if they're making a bunch of them, go a little faster with a 3/8 inch bowl gouge, just because it peels off a little bit more wood, or you know, for that matter, a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. So you got lots of choices. So we're going to come up about 3/4 of an inch. We're just going to shape this to a point. We've got to remove that little bit of damage from the live center, the little divot. Just open it up. You don't want to make it too pointy. And then we're going to do the other side. Before we do the other side, while we got lots of mass back here, let me show you how a couple of ways we could decorate this. So the first decorating technique we're going to use is the chatter tool. This is a shop-made version. If you're interested in the video on how you make one, check this out. But we're going to start at the middle, and we're going to go down here to about 730 by bringing it around. High speed, somewhere between 15 and 2,500 RPM. Anytime you texture, it helps if you frame this a little bit by putting a few marks at least on the inside and the outside to kind of bring your eye in. Using a point tool for that. And here's where you can get your kids or grandkids involved, is helping you to decorate it. You want to slow the speed down to no more than 200. They're going to use a felt tip pen. They're going to use it with the trailing position, as handle up, point down. And you want to use darker colors on the outside. I'm going to let my true colors show. Auburn, War Eagle, blue and orange. And you want to use darker colors on the outside to help frame it, like that. And we might use some other in like that. Slow it down just a little bit. And there we go. So that's the decorating process with the chatter tool. Now you got to come in behind here and just start wasting wood. Concentrate on this. Don't make it too thin here before we're ready to part it off. You want this angle to be less than 90 degrees between the front profile and the back profile. Now, having it this way with a handle toward the back, one of the advantages, makes it very easy to decorate the bottom, makes it very easy to shape that point. It does make it a little harder to do texturing on the back, as I'll show you in just a moment. Just wasting wood here. Switch to a 3/8 inch spindle gouge. Uh-oh. Lost the bevel, bevel support. So we want to decorate the back before we get the shaft too thin, so it's got some stability. So we can come in behind it and do the same thing we did before with the texturing tool. I'm going to use the same technique on both sides of this. We're going to go from this case, we're going to go from the center down to about the 430 position. Again, high speed. Like snowflakes, no two exactly alike because you've got all these different variables. And I didn't do so well. I tore that out. But anyway, that's the approach you're going to use. Now, one of the other advantages of this one is when you get this thinner back here. I think I'll just. I'll clean up this terrible mess we got when I gouged it out from the texturing tool, it looks like. Got too aggressive. See if I can't salvage this. Okay, got a clean surface all the way around. Go ahead and thin it down again. Now, the challenge of doing it this way is it is a little more difficult to get behind there on texturing. Let me try a different tool this time. This time I'm going to use a Wagner knurling tool, but you can see the challenges that you have. Got to get your tool rest around to try to get the tool perpendicular to the wood. And that's this tool that spins right here. And you want to slow the speed down when you're texturing for this tool, no more than about 700. We're just going to come in there and hold it in place. Got some texture there. It's not as pretty. Again, we're going to frame it. I'm going to put just a little V groove on the outside and the inside. Put the speed up a little bit more. And then we can color that. For this particular top, we're going to put a little cord through it to hang it up on a Christmas tree, so I'm going to use my birdcage awl, and we're just going to mark it like this, and then drill a 1/16 inch hole for a 1/16 inch cord. We do that before it gets completely thin, so we can clean out any tear out we might have from the. In this case, it's pretty clean. Let's go ahead and finish shaping the shaft. The shaft is going to be about as long as the top is wide. You want it to be fairly thin to make it easy to spin if you're making it as a spin top. If you're making Christmas tree ornaments, some of the niceties for a spin top, you'll recognize a spin top, but it's never going to have to spin. Would it really matter if you use some wood that had hardwood and sapwood in it, which probably wouldn't spin as true, but if it's an ornament, it might not make any real difference. We're just going to come down here, part that off with a little bit of a point, because if we were going to spin this, we want to be able to spin it on either end. When you go to part it off, don't grab that, let it fall into your hand so you don't tear the fibers as you part it off. Okay. Next technique for decorating, we're going to use the Sorby Micro Spiraling system. I'm going to leave natural, so I'm just going to use some friction polish finish. It will be shine juice or Mylans, something at shellac base. It'll set up and dry pretty quick, cure pretty quick. I'm using my body to manipulate this, not my hands. Go in there and spin it, twist around. This red oak is rather chippy. I had a little tear out, so it's vibrating too much. So one technique, if you're getting some vibration and need a little more stability, obviously you can't just bring up a live center with a point or you'll damage that point, but you can use something like this called a soft touch, where you add a cover of wood, or in this case a little piece of plastic, and just bring that up to provide just a little extra stability while I clean up this rim and get ready to part it off just a little bit. And that ought to make it a whole lot easier. So round over that edge. Get ready to part it off. You want that stem no more than 1/4 inch. Getting a little thinner near the top of the handle so you can get that nice pop with your fingers. Get the spin. Before I take it off, I need to put on a little friction polish on the back side as well. Part it off. I'm going to go ahead and release the pressure here. I'm going to use this speeding and parting tool to speed up a little bit. There we go. I'll have to sharpen that one. So I just put a little decorated bead and a little band here to give that a little more pizzazz. Now let me show you the technique of turning the handle side out. There are some advantages and disadvantages of both those approaches. First, we're going to just do some bulk wood removal. Now we're going to do the back side of the top. So engage the cut, slice it in. Now the advantage of this approach is a couple. Number one, the top of the top is where you're really going to most notice any texturing or decoration. So it's so much easier to texture from this side. In this case, I'm just going to use, actually I'm going to use a texturing tool. We'll move just a little bit more here before we do that. And it's always good to sand before you texture up to the final finish, but on tops I don't know that I get too carried away. That's just a little 320. So in this case I'm using a crown texturing tool with just the texturing wheel. It doesn't do spiraling, it just makes little marks on the side. So I'm going to come in there and just bring it across. Again, slow speed down, no more than 700, 600. Start with it perpendicular. Turn it over, make it a little easier to control. Every time you lift it, you'll have a mark. Differentiate the texture a little bit. And so we've got some nice texturing marks that not quite as elaborate as the chatter tool. And we're going to frame that inside and out. Get speed up a little bit. Use our pyramid tool, point tool. Mark it there, maybe mark where I see some places that don't have texture, kind of highlight it a little bit, and then we'll have to decide whether we want to color it or not. Let's try some different colors. Again, slow it down, use darker colors on it to frame it with on the inside and the outside. Kids or grandkids, we're just going to use several different colors here. Now we're going to finish turning the handle with this freshly sharpened spindle gouge that I dropped with the point into the concrete floor. Now I'm going to put cut the point and remove that little bit of damage from the live center. Just a little bit thinner. Now, I'm going to leave it a bit blunt at the end because one of the advantages of having it point out is if we want to use a screw eye to go in here, we've got to drive that hole on the lathe. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to do. So I've still got just a hint of a hole, so let me get my pin vise. And of course, I've always got the same option I had before, drill a side hole and put a piece of cord, but in this case we're going to use a screw eye, and like I say, if we didn't have this end out, we'd have a very difficult time drilling that hole with a pin vise off the lathe. And we're just going to use the appropriate size screw eye. If you don't drill a hole, you'll snap that screw eye every time. So there we go. We'll talk about finishing a little bit later. If I was in production mode, I might consider one going in this direction and one going in the other direction by separating this with a V-cut. Takes time. I've got to decide what to do with this side, and like I said before, it's a little harder to get in there with a texturing tool. I'm just going to leave this one plain wood on this side. And maybe I'll just put a few tiny little V grooves using the point tool. Just come in from this side, left-handed. And I just think I'll put a couple of bands of color in there, just in those V grooves. Lots of opportunities to play. And slow the speed down. Right there, right there, right there. Let's border it. Dark there. This one is a bit trickier to part off. I don't want any torn fibers. I think that point will be fine. Now if we rub that point on something hard and harden it a little bit, like bed rest or tool rest, spin it a little bit. It ought to be capable of spinning just a little bit better. We'll take the part that's already in here and go ahead with that second one. Most of the point's already done. We're just going to smooth the gut. Slow the feed rate down. Don't push the tool hard. Because miles per hour at that tip is almost nothing. Okay. Now, if you don't have a texturing tool, you can always just color it. Let me show you. Let's just touch this up a little bit of fine grit sandpaper here. What if you just slowed this down and just did a little spiral with the felt tip pen from the inside to the out? Like that. And if you want to, you come with another color. We're liable to overlap it, but that'd be alright too. Let's just border it. Make sure we got a border. We'll just add a little more color. And at least we got some color to it. Now my experience has been if you use colored markers and you use a friction polish, shellac base with alcohol on it, it's just going to smear this up. So you need to coat it with just a little bit of a very light spray. An artist fixative works real well. This is a special type of spray used for drawings, charcoal and pencil drawings to keep from smudging. So that's a possibility to just coat it with a couple of light sprays of that. I don't like to do that on the lathe, so I'm not going to do that now. If you are using screw eyes, buy some small ones. These larger ones you might find locally just are too clunky. Christmas tree ornament. Find something where the inside opening is no more than say 3 millimeters. The total length is a little bit, maybe more than a ½ inch, or 11 millimeter maybe. You can make them out of jewelry wire. If you buy cord, you're going to buy this round 16th inch round cord if you can find it around in the US. You can get it at Hobby Lobby. You can't get it at Michael's. For hangers, you know, you can either put cord again even in the screw eye, or like I showed earlier, the drill hole, or you can use these hangers if you wanted to give it a little more flair. They're readily available. I'll have links to that on Amazon. And there you have it. Dual purpose project. Could be either a spin top or a Christmas tree ornament. If you want to know more about texturing, I've got a link to a playlist here with many more videos on details of texturing. I welcome your comments, and if you're a brand new viewer, I'd appreciate you telling me one thing that you got out of this video in the comments below. If you like this project, please click on the like button so the algorithm will push it out to more like-minded woodturners. And remember, y'all stay safe. Come on back, you hear?